Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Gas Masks and Hand Grenades on a Thursday night.
Yep.
9
Cheers.
p.m. Eastern time. My friend, my partner here, my compadre, I'll get it right somehow. There we go. That guy, Mr. Logan from Drunken Metalhead Musings, is joining me tonight on the Gas Masks and Hand Grenades channel. And we are going to do a dad episode, number 5. If you've been following these, we've been trying to get in about 2 a week, and so this is the first one of this week and the 5th one in the series. And tonight, who are we talking about, Mr. Logan?
Dude, Soundgarden, one of the big four of grunge, and really a band that hasn't gotten as much attention as like an Alice in Chains or even like a Melvins. I think in like the
Nirvana or
sphere,
Pearljam.
yeah. But also, thanks for having me on for Dad.
Yeah,
number
for sure,
5.
man.
I thought that this has been a cool idea since you started doing them.
Great to have you in.
How do you feel like you've been faring so far in these
I think they've been doing well. I mean,
Yeah.
They tend to build the audience as they go. I did notice that, tonight we're talking a grunge band. And just to be clear about something before we get into this, those that are just tuning in for the first time or for those returning people, the Dad series is essentially an acronym for the definitive albums Deconstructed. And essentially what's going on with this series is that we're going to talk about what we feel is the definitive album in a band's catalog. There's no wrong, there's no right, especially in this case where you have 2 mega platinum selling albums that are kind of defining. But we're gonna go at each other a little bit and see if we can change each other's mind about which one is more important and why.
Some friendly verbal jousting.
That's kind of the nexus of the basis of what the series is about, is to kind of pit 2 albums 1v1, because Logan, my general shtick is to have a shit ton of people on large panels, and we talk about deep dives, or we go into these big time desert island things, which we're going to do one in October on. We're going to do prog metal, not prog. That'll be a different one.
Ooh, okay.
But I'm still working on putting together the panel for that, and I'm not sure about when that's going to happen. But with these dads, I kind of want to. The caveat with the Dad series is that it has to be a band that I've not done a deep dive on, and I've done a lot of deep dives, so it's kind of wipes out.
It narrows it down.
It narrows it down a little bit, right? But there's a shit ton of bands that I haven't talked about, and this is one that I've barely talked about. Morbid Angel was one. Iron Maiden, strangely enough, was one. That's why it's been cool to hook up with all you guys in the metal VC and the VC and talk about bands that, aren't necessarily metal, aren't necessarily death or black or, doom or whatever. We can kind of go anywhere we want. So, like, for example, on Sunday, Lee from Heavy Art Talk and I are doing Pink Floyd, one of the granddaddies of prog rock. And, I'm a prog nerd at heart. So we're going to pit Dark Side against Animals. And I know the biggie is Dark Side, but there's some interesting arguments I have about Animals being kind of the definitive album. But, maybe not sales-wise, but as far as conceptually based anyways. So that's kind of what Dad's all about. And, we got 7 people in here now. What generally seems to happen is they get up in the 15s, 20s. I'd like to see them in the 30s and 40s, but, I only have 828 subs. You can't hope for greatness at the level that I'm at. But, I'm very happy with the way the channel's grown organically. And I do what I do. I don't cater to the fads of what everybody else thinks I should do and all that kind of shit. So, but yeah, we chose this band, and I was glad we did because, as I said, we've not really talked about this band that much, especially on my channel. And So it's kind of like, what led you to throw this one out at me? And by the way, what are we drinking here? I've got a
Oh yeah,
Dogfish Head pumpkin ale tonight. In the
I've
spirit
got.
of Halloween coming up.
Yep. Cheers to that. I'm best time of year, especially in the South, because it starts to actually cool down. It actually feels like fall between the hours of 7 and
Logan,
8 p.m.
I'm still having a hard time hearing you. I need you to get your volume up a little bit.
Oh, okay. Let me.
See, as soon as you get that mic close to you, I can hear you. If it's in the picture, who cares? Just bend it.
It's right here, if that's okay.
That's fine. Yeah, it's totally
All right.
fine. Now we can hear you much better. Go ahead.
Cheers. All right, cheers. I got a coffee stout. Kind of matches the dark tone
that sounds
of
good.
these albums, because these are really dark.
They are
dark and dreary albums here. Besides this band right here, Soundgarden really released the most metal and most bleak of kind of the grunge in that early '90s like alternative scene. So,
well, I think too that Soundgarden have quite a bit of a more of an experimental edge to them. They kind of blended the stoner doom of Sabbath and the Melvins, and they also added some of the alternative metal sort of edge. Whereas, Alice, and these are my two favorite bands. And I was going to wear that shirt, and I'm glad I didn't. I went with legend Bob Marley. But I think that Alice always had a little bit more of a wider view, perhaps, than Alice. Alice was a little more streamlined into, I would say, a little bit more contemporary sort of song structure. Okay, they had a verse chorus sort of thing going on. The early Soundgarden was very kind of experimental and kind of weird and angular and dissonant, and then you had this crazy, fucking insane multi-octave vocalist that I still feel might be the very best vocalist of all time. Notwithstanding maybe somebody like Jeff Buckley or Robert Plant or somebody in the metal sphere, the dude was just unreal. So and the interesting thing about Soundgarden is that when everything shifted from hair metal and the LA scene up to Seattle, Soundgarden was the very first of the major bands of the Seattle scene that got signed to a major label deal. It was not Nirvana. It was not Alice in Chains. It was not Pearljam.
This album, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you pulled that because I didn't pull mine. I always have I'm lazy because I can't find my shit, so I have my guest pull it. But,
it's all good. I'm ready.
But I own it all. Do you have the Satan's Oscillate the bonus disc in it?
No, I do not. I only have. I
have that one. The Psalms, Satan Oscillate
That's cool.
I have the note. I forget what the last bit of the acronym is.
What's he oscillating?
I can't remember. What's that?
So what is he oscillating? He's.
Hang on a sec. Let me.
No, I don't think I've even heard that. Honestly,
you didn't know about that?
No. Yeah.
Oh, dude, what the?
Was it released with this album?
Yeah, it was in anticipation of the band's appearance on the '92 Lollapalooza tour. A limited edition double disc of Badmotorfinger was released June 28th of 1992, and a second disc containing the EP Satan Oscillate My Metallic Sonatas, or Psalms. The title is a palindrome. This EP includes 3 covers, an unreleased original song, and a live version of Slaves and Bulldozers. For the cover of Into the Void by Black Sabbath, the original lyrics were replaced with words of protest by Chief Seattle, also known as Self, which fit the meter of the song. At the 93 Grammy Awards, Into the Void received a nomination for Best Metal Performance. So there you go. So yeah, I have that one, but I'm not digging around for it. So, but yeah, so Soundgarden, man, just a very unique band. We picked the two, basically the biggest of the bunch, but they have every one of their albums is worth owning. Ultra Mega OK has some of Chris's most insane fucking screams on it, like Far Beyond the Wheel. The FOP EP has Hunt You Down and Entering and Tears to Forget. And I mean, it's just like so many killer songs.
Have you heard this one?
Yeah. That's Flowers and EP, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't actually own that, believe it or not. That's the one thing of theirs I do not own.
I don't own Ultra Mega.
What's on that?
we've got Flower is track 1, Head Injury is track 2, and then track 3 is Toy Box.
What is it?
Toy Box is track 3.
Toy Box. Okay, that's
yeah.
Head Injury.
They're definitely weird and angular for sure.
Yeah.
They're not the Soundgarden that you hear.
It's the earlier
even
stuff. Yeah,
Badmotorfinger. Yeah. Or really.
Did you ever get to see Soundgarden live?
No, man.
No?
I missed seeing them at one of those big like Red State rock festivals back probably the year before
Chris killed
passed.
himself.
Yeah. And
I saw him in
one of my biggest regrets for sure.
Oh, for sure, man. I saw him in 89 when they were the middle band. Marty
With
talks about this
Voivod,
live.
right? I remember, yeah.
Yeah, Voivod was the headliner, and they were out for Louder Than Love. They had just replaced Yamamoto with Jason. I think his name is Jason McCarville, I believe his name was. And then I got to actually meet Matt very briefly, but I got to hang out with Kim. And Kim and Chris were both pretty fucking hammered, probably on a lot of weed and a lot of booze, it seemed like. And I was shit hammered drunk. So super cool, though. I mean, Kim dumped a beer all over me, which was kind of uncool. Kim, if you're watching, that was not very cool. But,
was it in an endearing way, or was he pissed or something?
No, he was just really hammered, and I was really hammered. And he's like, "You want this beer?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Shh," and just starts pouring it on me. Like, I'm like,
that sounds like a dick move, yeah.
I gotta drive home, stinking of fucking beer. Thanks, dude. But whatever. I made it home safe and sound. And anyway, so yeah, and then I saw them again. I did not see them for Badmotorfinger. I saw them for twice for the Superunknown tour. And one in Lehigh and one in Baltimore, I think it was. And I can't for the life of me remember who opened, but I want to say it was Tad, another Seattle band.
Oh,
Tad.
nice. Yeah.
I think that's who it was. I don't remember. So real quick, let's hit the chat and then we'll get rolling. What's up, Celtic? Love not much of a horse in this race. Yeah, Louder Than Love, Badmotorfinger. Yeah, there's 3 really killer albums, and all of their stuff is good. What's up, Brian? Nice. Bad Motor Frosty. There we go. Okay. I don't know that one. Don't know that one. I don't know, Nate. I'm struggling, dude. That Rush Tier thing was ass, bro. Pretty much ass. But it's your opinion, so you're allowed to have your opinion. Don't let me for me to affect your opinion, but you're wrong. Just saying. Into the Void. Yep, it was on that second disc. Yep. All right. Lollapalooza. Right. 11 times. Wow, dude. Got me beat for sure. So we're going to get into these albums here. And was there a reason right off the top that you picked Superunknown?
Absolutely. It was probably one of my favorite albums. It was a very formative album for me. Honestly, Badmotorfinger was too. I actually got Badmotorfinger first, but as soon as I got Superunknown, it was like one of those immediate clicks, and it really pushed me head over heels into like just loving all things grunge in that early 90s, which was really one of the first like subgenres of hard rock that I kind of got into. And
Logan, I'm gonna let you start tearing into your album, and then I'll come back in one second.
I'll segue right into it. Right. Yeah. So Superunknown, this one right here, was pretty big for me when I found it. It was just one of those that really made the Soundgarden sound click. I think Badmotorfinger, which I'll dive into a little bit more later on, it was a tougher to digest album for someone who's just getting into more hard rock and grunge. I mean, there were certain songs on it that didn't necessarily click with me. Jesus Christ Pose was definitely one of them. Everything was immediate here. I think this is just a perfect balance between their more old, like the sound that they had on their previous albums, the more angular, the more doomy, a little bit of punk energy in here. But then also they went a little bit more commercial. There's definitely a lot more pop elements and more traditional song structures here. And then also a little more experimentation of where they're going to go. And I absolutely just love the variety on here too. So yeah, kind of like dive into the album, go through all of my notes that I have. So let's see. I'm kind of going to start with um, what I consider a definitive album, because I think that you kind of have to open up the conversation with what makes something definitive. And I had to pick Soundgarden and specifically Superunknown because I feel like being definitive implies a certain level of objectivity. Like personal preference definitely plays a role, but I think how an album fits into a band's discography and how it has a cultural impact and also is an accurate representation of their sound should also play a part. And for me, Superunknown does all of that, but then also is my personal favorite by them and was really an album I considered a 10 out of 10 like classic for a couple of years before I kind of started to notice some like cracks in the armor, if you will, and it's not quite a 10 out of 10 anymore, but it's still up there. But yeah, that's
Hey, before you
definitely
start track by track, let me
yeah.
do a little bit of data. I had to step out for a minute to grab something out of the oven, but we're good now. So, Super Unknown comes out March 8th, 1994. It was recorded between July and September of 93 at Bad Animals Studio, which Bad Animals is where Fleetwood Mac recorded Rumors, and Nirvana recorded Nevermind, and I think Garbage recorded their album there. A lot of major, huge albums. And I believe Fleetwood Mac owned that studio before Dave Grohl bought the Neve console out of it when they were tearing the studio down. So Heart was another big one. Heart recorded a bunch of their albums there. It came out on A&M. It was produced by Michael Beinhorn. Real quick, some notes on this one. Soundgarden began work on the album after touring in support of its previous album, Badmotorfinger. Superunknown retained the heaviness of the band's earlier releases while displaying a more diverse range of influences. Superunknown was a critical and commercial success, became the band's breakthrough album. It debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, selling 310,000 copies its opening week. That's pretty impressive. The album also topped the Australian, Canadian, and New Zealand charts. 5 singles released from the album: The Day I Tried to Live, My Wave, Fell on Black Days, Spoon Man, and Black Hole Sun. The latter of the two, which won Grammy Awards and helped Soundgarden reach mainstream popularity. In 95, the album was nominated for the Grammy Award for Best Rock Album. It has been certified 6 times platinum by the RIAA in the United States. Now, that's as of the mid-90s, so it's probably sold considerably more than that. It's also listed by several publications as one of the best albums of the 90s and a quintessential grunge album. In April of 2019, it was ranked number 9 on Rolling Stone's 50 Greatest Grunge Albums. Real quick notes on recording. They began work on the album about 2 months after finishing its stint on the 92 Lollapalooza tour. Individual band members would work on material on their own and bring in demos to which the other members of the band would contribute. Frontman Chris Cornell said that the band members allowed each other more freedom than on past records. Kim Thayil observed that even though the band spent as much time writing and arranging as it had on previous albums, it spent a lot more time working on recording the songs. After 2 albums with producer Terry Date, he of Fifth Angel, Pantera fame, all that kind of good stuff. The band decided to seek another collaborator. As guitarist Thayil said, we just thought we'd go for a change. Eventually, this settled on Michael Beinhorn, who didn't have his own trademark sound, which he was trying to tack on to Soundgarden and had ideas the band approved of. Soundgarden used alternate tunings and odd time signatures on several of the album's songs. Spoon Man, Black Hole Sun, Let Me Drown, and Kickstand were performed in drop D, while Mailman and Limo Wrecked employed CGD GBE tuning. Some songs use more unorthodox tuning, like My Wave and The Day I Tried to Live, are both in EE, BBB, B flat tuning. Head Down and Half both utilize CGCGC GE tuning. 4th of July is a similar CFC GBE tuning. That was one of my notes, so that stole that.
Okay.
Superunknown Fresh Tendrils are in DGD GBE. A lot of open tunings. And Suicide is performed in DGD GBC. There you go. You got all the tunings.
I'm picking up about 30% of those tunings.
Yeah. Thayil said that Soundgarden usually did not consider the time signature of a song, so after the band had written it and said that he used odd meters was total accident. last note here. Superunknown was the breakthrough album, earning the band international recognition. Upon its release in March 94, debuted at number 1. We already went through all that. What am I saying? As of 94, it sold 2.5 million, but now it's certified 6-time. 3 times platinum in Canada,
if
Australia,
not more, currently.
Yeah, 2 times platinum in Sweden, platinum in the United Kingdom, and gold in the Netherlands and Italy. And as of this is weird. As of 2019, it sold 3.9 million copies in the U.S., according to Nielsen. So I guess a lot of those other sales are outside the U.S.
Outside,
so
yeah.
Kind of weird.
So globally, it was, I guess, 6 times platinum.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The album spawned an EP, songs from Superunknown and the CD-ROM Alive and the Superunknown, both released in 95. All right, so tear into this and do what you need to do.
All right. Yeah, so great notes, kind of set us up for track by track. I think it has probably the strongest opener for Soundgarden CD, in my opinion. Let Me Drown is just killer. It opens up with so much energy. I love the drumming on it. I think Celtic Frosty kind of mentioned the production earlier. It's super warm and kind of lets everything breathe perfectly. And I just love kind of what it does to the drum pattern and the riff pattern of that song. I'm gonna do my best to use this ranking method that you've got going on.
The parlance of dad.
Yes. So we've got
you got mega bangers, tweener bangers.
Do we just have a regular banger?
Banger.
We got a banger.
Meh.
So
wait, skipper.
It goes mega banger, banger, tweener banger, skipper, right?
Except I've now
we're adding to the lore.
I've opened up another term, and it is called super mega banger. That is like the ultra banger of all bangers.
All right. Are we allowed to use that like once an album or something? Like that's like a finishing move, like a Mortal Kombat, like special move or something, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely probably pull that out. So we got a mega banger, 10 out of 10.
Wow, that's what. There you go. I said mega banger and omega. You use mega or omega?
I said mega, but I'll use omega. I'll use omega later.
Instead of super mega banger, I think I like omega banger because that's the alpha omega, right?
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Look at what you just did for the series, Logan. Look at what you just did.
Pushing it forward. There we go. So yeah, a mega banger to start off the album. I mean, it's great. Chorus that gets stuck in my head, and it opens up with a dark tone that the album kind of keeps overall. And I just love the theme that it kind of starts with. It's just let me go, let me drown, let me fail, and yeah, that's just kind of what I'm getting. The biggest message that is being conveyed from like a lot of the songs here. Let me fail, but then I also kind of want to drag you down with me is kind of the message. Then it goes into My Way, which is one of the singles. I would say that's just a regular banger. I give that a 9 out of 10, regular banger. I love the odd riffing pattern. It kind of makes me think a little bit of like Rusty Cage and kind of some of those like more atmospheric riffs that it kind of tries to build. But the message definitely seems a lot more upbeat, and yeah, the chorus is great, and it's just a really great song, but it doesn't like live up to the mega banger standards. Fell on Black Days, another Bleak single that really just measures up well with Let Me Drown. Yeah, it's a great song. It's not my favorite of the singles that they've released. I think it's a little bit more simplistic, but I love the second half of the song. And I guess that's one thing I do want to highlight about Soundgarden's songwriting here. Like, I think they are doing it a bit more commercial than, say, on like Badmotorfinger, and especially more than on Louder Than Love.
Right.
With the verse chorus thing. But they really grow the song and grow their choruses and build to like an epic bridge. And like the final chorus typically has more vocal layering, more guitar wizardry from Kim, and just it's just a lot more interesting to listen to than a typical verse chorus song. And even like songs from their contemporaries like Nirvana and Pearljam or Stone Temple Pilots, where I don't think they necessarily crafted tracks that built like that. And I think Fell on Black Days kind of demonstrates it. And then we get to Mailman, almost an Omega banger. It's not the Omega banger of the album. It's just a regular mega banger.
It's just a mega banger.
A mega banger.
Right.
And God, maybe to me it might be the angriest song Soundgarden's ever recorded. It's just fucking pissed and filled with vitriol. And this is the one, like, it's they're sinking, they're failing, but they want to drag you down while it's going on. And I feel like it's squarely aimed at people in power and people who are like kind of above you in a social hierarchy thing. In fact, there's a quote from Chris where he says it was kind of written about killing your boss and like going in to work with that intent, you know? And you can just tell it's just fucking mean, you know? Like what's this lyric here? I know I'm heading for the bottom, but I'm riding you all the way. I mean, that's just
all the way. Oh, so good.
I'm gonna let you do all the singing on this episode.
All right, but Chris Cornell admittedly is a wee bit out of my range on his top end. I can do a lot of the basic stuff, but when he starts doing the screams, there's very few people that can handle that. Maybe Richie Kotzen and maybe Ian Thornley are the only two guys I know that have that kind of range. So
yeah, he's out of most.
Sick.
98% of the 99% of the population's range. I think Mailman is also, it's like the equivalent of what Slaves and Bulldozers was for Badmotorfinger. Like it has a similar like kind of pissed off feeling, which I really like. Then Superunknown, that is a banger, regular banger. It's just a more straightforward, hard rock song, but I really like it for what it is. It kind of helps to move the album forward and keeps the intensity up. And I really like the chorus and the repetition that they use. You know, alive in the super unknown, alive, and then just keeps looping it. That's a killer song. 9 out of 10 for me. Head Down. Originally, I did not like this track at all. Like back when I first heard this album, this was always one that I used to skip. But it's grown on me recently. I kind of like the more laid back vibe to it, and once again, how kind of Chris grows his vocals throughout the song, and how if he starts kind of meek, and then at the very end, he's saying, you know, you got to hold your head high and smile, you know, and it's like his full range has kind of come out. It's grown on me for sure, and I read somewhere where they were trying to make it sound more like a Beatles song almost, or
it definitely has
that
sort of psychedelic, sort of trippy vibe to it.
It kind of hints at where they were going.
Yeah, a little bit. Yep.
And then from there we get to Black Hole Sun, which to me this is the single that's the most bogged down by being overplayed. I know you have a different song in mind for that one, but that's one of those songs where I wouldn't, you know, if I never heard it again, I'd be okay. But it's still like a great song. Like the chorus is iconic. It's Soundgarden's most well-known song. And honestly, the guitar solo at the end by Kim is pretty killer. Like it's fucking amazing. So to use the lingo, Head Down and this one are tweener bangers. They're like that 8 out of 10.
Yeah, you're gonna find my assessment rather different, but that's cool.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of different, Spoonman, mega banger. One of the first songs that I glommed onto from this band. Dude, the riffs, Chris going, oh, you know, like before it kind of hits. The actual Spoonman in the background, you know, which his name is.
You're definitely not gonna like what I have to say about Spoonman. I promise.
Artiste the Spoonman. Oh, I'm bring it on, man. I'm ready for it. I mean, like, dude, the riff performance here is just killer. I love the drums. Like Matt Cameron sounds huge. I love the music. The bridge.
The music's fine. I just it's one of those songs.
Like, did you hear it one too many times? Is that it?
It's kind of like, yeah, I heard it so much, and I when this album came out, I mean, it was on the radio and
Mm-hmm.
MTV constantly, and I burned myself out on this track. It's the one song on the album that's a complete skipper for me. I kind of hate it. It's the one song on the album I kind of hate. It's kind of like the Sweet Child of Mine for me. And
Wow, no,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
unfair, man. That's like,
yeah, I know.
the energy and the riffing, and like I could still put this on. I mean, well, like all week it was still like hitting the same, and it was definitely overplayed as well. I think it's just like the slowness of Black Hole Sun and how long it takes to build.
But there's other songs on this album that were played a lot too, like Black Hole Sun, like Fell on Black Days, that I don't mind so much. There's a couple tracks off of Badmotorfinger that were played to death too on Headbangers and on the radio and on modern rock radio in the 2000s. I don't mind them. This song just fucking agitates me. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
That's bizarre. Nate's with you apparently, which I'm surprised I'm the one.
I can do Black Hole Sun. I can if I don't hear it like numerous times in a year, I can do it. But because I think it's a very interesting song sonically, I think there's a lot of really cool production things going on that song. I think, obviously Chris's voice is otherworldly, but Spoon Man just, I'll get there because I'm interjecting on your trip. Sorry.
No, it's good. We're having a debate as it goes. I'm okay with it. Like I think there's something to be said about that first impression you get when you're like a fucking kid listening to something is still like something that you can often hold on to. Like the first time I heard Spoon Man, I was just like, this is it. This is the sound that I want. It's like, it's got that aggression. I was like tired of like the more slower stuff. I wanted the energy, and Spoon Man had it. It had like the chorus, and just really pushed it forward. So I still can relate to that. Whereas like Black Hole Sun, I was like, yeah, this is cool, but I'm really buying, this album for Spoon Man.
Cool.
Spork Man. Going from Spoon Man, we go to another mega banger. Fucking Limo Wreck, dude. Limo Wreck. Then that might be the most underrated song in the album, in my opinion. And it's like this album still has like deep cuts. It's got the big singles, but it's got the killer deep cuts too. And Limo Wreck is one of them. And it's got another one of those scathing choruses. It's kind of reminiscent of Mailman, except it kind of plays with that loud, soft dynamic more, where it's like almost a little more chilled and laid back in the verse until you get to that chorus, which
that chorus, man, and he just goes.
What is it? I'm trying to think of how it goes again.
And the wreck of you.
Yeah.
I don't know the words really well off the top of my head
because of us all. Yeah, I don't know.
I can't hit that. And the wreck of you. I can't hit that note. It's too high for me. So
it just sounds like another scathing song about like tearing down the system and just like sending. Just destroying something. I don't know.
And I think
yourself at the same time.
Well, I'll hold off because I've got a note about that song and two other songs on here that were written by a certain person that are really set them apart for me. So go ahead.
So yeah, mega banger for that one, and then another mega banger, The Day I Tried to Live.
Yeah,
I could see some people saying that this would be overplayed too, but I just love the
great song.
The tone of it. I love the dynamics in it. I love the lyrical structure, and it kind of sounds upbeat, but then you like look at the lyrics and it's not really like it's still about suicide, right? I mean, that's the
probably
seize the day, drop the blade, or and watch.
A lot of Chris's songs were pretty dark lyrically.
Yeah. Yep. It said seize the day, pull the trigger, drop the blade. I mean, damn. Yeah, so I absolutely love that song. That's one of those singles I could continue to hear, and I like the structure of it, kind of. Like it still goes verse chorus, but there's like it goes verse chorus, then verse chorus, second part of the chorus, and then I don't know. It's great songwriting there. And then Fresh Tendrils, it kind of does the same thing that like Limo Wreck did, and it definitely hits on that sludgy tone. And it's a great song too, also underrated. I would say it's just a regular banger. Like it doesn't quite hit the emotional notes and heft.
Which one?
Fresh Tendrils.
Yeah,
I
I agree.
give that one a 9 out of
Yep.
10. Like it's still
I
a
agree.
great song,
Yep.
but it doesn't quite recapture the intensity of.
Don't forget, you have tweener bangers between a regular banger and mega banger. So that's kind of like a track that's almost a mega, but it's better
Okay,
than a
so
banger. See?
I got it confused then because I thought a tweener banger was less than a banger.
No. So it's meh. Meh is a skipper track. Okay. Its banger is a good solid track throughout the album. A tweener banger, a step above a regular banger. A mega banger is like, oh, that's tits, and an omega banger is the creme de la creme, the badass track or two on the album that you just can't look out. Like Brian says, he's looking California and feeling Minnesota. That's kind of like a tweener banger to a mega banger. You're looking California, but you're actually feeling Minnesota. You see what I mean?
I would agree with that as far as like a tweener. I actually never knew that's what he was saying in that song. Dude,
there you go.
So I messed up my whole rating system, or messed up the whole rating system, but at least I gave you a mega banger, so we'll call it even. Kickstand, that I guess is just a regular banger, so it's an 8 out of 10 for me. It brings back like that punk energy that they definitely been playing with. It's really the one punk energetic song. I kind of like it as like a little good intermission between the more intense tracks. Yeah, it's a great song. Helps move the album along, and then we finally get to my omega banger of the album. My favorite Soundgarden song, period. Their pinnacle, 4th of July. Straight up doom song. It's haunting, and to me this is why, this is the definitive album. Like it's got tracks like Black Hole Sun and Spoon Man, which are just like so commercial, but then at the same time, like 4th of July is just a straight up doom metal track, and they're able to make them coexist and sound like they belong on the same album. And I absolutely love that.
Brian pulls out Hydro Banger. Things are getting out of control on the banging end of things.
I don't know if there's a Hydro Banger on this album, but Bongzilla's got a few for sure.
So how about
impressive songwriting there?
Production, songwriting.
Oh, 1 sec.
Sequencing.
Half is my one. Sorry, half is my one skip track.
It's definitely a skipper.
It's lucky it's only 2 minutes. That's all I'll say. Like Suicide is a great closing track. I guess it's the tweener banger. It's a 9 out of 10. It sounds haunting, and I love how much, how filled with despair it is, and it's kind of slower, but it really has the emotional heft. Okay, sorry.
Now you said, just so I'm clear, because we were doing the whole banger thing, 4th of July is your favorite song?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
That is the omega banger.
Not a bad choice. Yeah, not a bad choice.
So for me, the quality of songs, I got my mic.
Oops.
We're good.
Dude, I just have it in front of you if you can.
All right, I'll just put it right
just leave it there. It's not a big deal.
We got 6 10 out of 10s or mega bangers to omega bangers, 4 tweener bangers, 3 that are like the regular banger, and 1 skippable song. So I'll go ahead and point out the weaknesses to this album kind of first. So to me, it's the fact that it's long. It's fucking 71 minutes long.
Yeah.
15 tracks. It probably did not need to be that long. I mean, I honestly, I think they could have left off half. They could have left off, truthfully, Head Down. I feel like they could have left that off. And maybe Fresh Tendrils, though I'm glad it's here. I feel like if it wasn't, it would be fine, Oh, and I just remember Ben Shepherd did the vocals on half. Brian's comment reminded me. Those are the weird. That's one of the reasons why I don't like it, is because of those weird ass fucking vocals. There's so much variety on here, as I said, from like the more commercial side of Soundgarden sound to the doomier side to a little more psychedelic Middle Eastern kind of vibe that, as I said, shows where they're headed. Yeah, there's very, very unique. I love the dark tone of it. It sounds depressing. It sounds filled with like self-destructive like tendencies and just really a lot of hatred as well at the powers that be. I think Celtic mentioned the production being like warm and kind of full, and I absolutely agree. It kind of helps all the instruments breathe, helps you really like be able to hear the drums and guitars and all the different instruments pretty separate, and I definitely like that. Yeah, I think Brian mentioned it there. This is a product of the CD. Yep. That's all the labels being like, you have to fill up the CD now. You know, use up every space. Yeah, I think for replayability, it's definitely one that I don't reach to as often these days because between the ages of 15 and 19 or something like that, right. played it to death. But I probably will revisit it once to twice a year, which that's pretty good for an album that like it's part of your DNA.
For an almost 20-year-old album now, right? 30-year-old.
No, dude,
album,
30, yeah.
30-year-old, yeah. Yeah, Brian's right in that, or Brian Arkham's right, that 90s period and 2000 period, man. It was like fill those 74, 77 minutes up, man. Just lay the stuff on there. And I think bands felt they had to, but there was less issues with we didn't have cell phones yet. We didn't have the internet yet. So you didn't have things vying for your attention like you do now. And, I'm actually much more into an album that is 40 to 50 minutes now than I ever was in my life. And, it just makes more sense. I can focus more on it. I can move on to something else. I mean, 70 minutes, man, that's a long-ass fucking album. And that's one of my problems with the album as a whole.
Mine too. It's what keeps it from being a perfect album for me. Right. It's the length. And then, as I said, like the couple potentially skippable songs.
All right, you want me to do mine and then we'll tie things up at the end then, or you
okay, yeah. So if we were, because I was about to go into like the what makes it definitive, but we'll save that.
Okay, well, we'll save that for last. Okay.
All right.
All right. So for me, Let Me Drown. That's a banger. Dark, grungy, gnarly, dirty, dirgy, ugly opener. Awesome track. My Way is really quirky and cool. It's kind of got a weird, almost. It's like what an REM song would sound like if it was more metallic. It's got that strange, angular, sort of jangly note stuff that's going on. That's super cool. Very catchy chorus. Fell on. I kind of, I heard it so much that it's okay. I don't love it. Honestly, that's a tweener banger for me. It's good. It's not great anymore. I think at the time I probably thought it was great. It's one of the songs off the album I can play, along with My Wave and Black Hole Sun. I think that's the only ones I know off the album. Oh no, Day I Tried to Live I can monkey around with a little bit too, but but it's still a solid track, but it's kind of a tweener for me. Mailman, it's not an accident that some of my absolute favorite songs from Soundgarden, in particular on this album, are Matt Cameron songs. Matt Cameron has a weird, super unique way of writing songs. I love Mailman. It's a banger for sure. Dark killer riffs, monster unorthodox drumming, inventive drumming, which Matt is a fantastic drummer. Very creative, very inventive, very unorthodox. This one's sludgy and doomy with gnarly Chris Cornell vocals. I know I'm headed for the bottom, but I'm riding you all the way. It's just like so fucking killer, man. Sick song. Love that. That's a banger. Mega banger, excuse me. Mega banger, Superunknown, killer alternative rocker, man. Alive in the Superunknown. It's just soulful. First it takes you. I can't. I'm missing the note here in my head. First it takes your mind and then it steals your. Angular. Lots of cool little hammer on, pull off notes on this one. Really, really cool track. Alternative metal track, if you will. I love it. Head Down is one of my favorite songs on the album, dude. It's actually an Omega banger for me, yes.
What?
Yes, and
what
here's
makes
why.
that an Omega banger? It's
Because
such a
it's
new
weirdly,
track
it's a
in
sleeper
comparison.
on the album. It's a sleeper. It's very weirdly melodic and trippy, almost psychedelic.
Yeah.
Spacey. I love the bow down, bow down, bow down. And then, you know, hide that smile. It's just so cool the way he does that. The way he's doing that chorus is so fucking cool, man. And he doesn't do a lot of screaming on that one, which is super cool. But it's just I love the meter and tempo of that song. It's kind of like one of those earworm things that you get lost in. So that's an Omega banger for me. All right.
Man.
Black Hole Sun, that's a banger. Probably would have been an Omega banger at one point in time, but I think it slid a little bit just because I've heard it so much. But I mean, come on. It's a monster hit. I still love it if I don't have to listen to it 25 times in a year. Spoon Man. It's the one on the album that I pretty much hate, man. I do not like the song. It's a definite skipper for me. It's so... I just think it's not that creative.
Shit, are we listening to the
definitely
same
written
song?
for the radio. Hang on now.
That's not what I heard.
Huh?
I said that's not what I heard when I listened to that song.
Well, that's not what you heard, but that's what I heard. I just don't like the song. Come on, gotta get out. Come on, gotta get out. Oh, man. Spoon Man, come together with your hands. Save me. I just can't stand that song. I love Soundgarden. I just can't stand that song. All right. Moving on. Limo Wreck. That is an Omega banger. It is fucking dark, creepy, epic, plotting, brooding, heavy as plutonium. One of Cornell's better, moodier vocals on the album, on the song. The Day I Tried to Live. Killer Cornell ugly ballad. And by what I mean by ugly is that it's not pretty to listen to lyrically or musically. It's got this almost like, the melodies are cool, but it's seize the day. It's just got this weird, almost like one more time around. I love the song, and it's a banger for me. It's approaching Omega banger status, but just short. But what I mean is it's beautifully ugly is what I mean by it. Kickstand. It doesn't do anything for me at all. I'm not a punk guy, so the punk tracks don't always speak to me much, although they do more on Badmotorfinger than on this one. But Kickstand doesn't do much for me at all. Fresh Tendrils, kind of a tweener, so that's a skipper for me, Kickstand. Fresh Tendrils is a tweener banger. It's another Cameron song. It's probably a bit, it's not quite killer level, but it's an alt rocker with great vocals, crushing Cornell heaviness, and a lot of melody, and I love that song too. Omega banger, 4th of July, darkest, heaviest track on the level of Limo Wreck and Mailman. It's a weird tuning of CFC GBE, which is something Chris basically made up to drop tune the bottom 3 strings for the drop tuning. And then the top 3 songs, you could do a regular solo on it. So, to my knowledge, I don't know if they ever used that tuning again. They may have. I didn't really dig in that deep, but you can solo in A440 with the top 3 strings at the regular G, B, and E tones. It's an ugly song, 4th of July, man. It's so thick and soupy and claustrophobic, man. It feels like you're trapped in something and you can't get out of it, I
always feel like it's like a smog. Yeah.
Huh?
It's like a smog or like a foggy kind of atmosphere.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Like
after the fireworks have gone off, kind of.
Yeah. Like you don't know what's around you. Like you're walking in that fog and you might drop off the edge of a cliff any minute, right? Half is a skipper for me. It's just kind of a noisy Nat track. No thanks. Just like Suicide, killer closer. Beautiful song, heavy duty lyrics. Chris is fantastic at those. Unbelievably prophetic, maybe in ways. I don't know. As I intimated to you, there's only 2 guys in my life that I'm aware of that died that really, and it didn't hit me until a couple days after Chris killed himself. But I was going through some very troubling, difficult times around it when that happened, and I was very much in that mindset myself, quite frankly. And to see that happen, it was pretty devastating, man. It just hit me one day. I was listening to Sun Shower, one of his solo songs, which is just this fucking incredible. It might have been Seasons, but I think it was Sun Shower. And I just suddenly found, the tears were rolling down my cheeks. And I was like, whoa, that's not really me much, And not that I'm not sentimental or empathetic or anything like that, but it hit me that I met the guy. It hit me that he meant a lot to me as an artist, as a creative artist that really took chances with a lot of stuff. The Temple of the Dog album, which is going to show up on one of these dads one of these days, is one of my favorite albums of all times. And, Chris is absolutely in my top 5 singers of all time. It switches around him, Lane, Jeff Buckley. There's a couple other people, Geddy Lee, and I'd have to think about the others, but Chris is always at that level for me. So struggle with that one. So for me, production's fantastic on the album. Beanhort did a stellar job on it. It's 10 out of 10 on production. Sequencing, if you drop the couple of tracks that I'm not particularly fond of, meaning if you drop Spoon Man, you maybe don't sell as many albums. So that's probably a problem there. But I could do without ever hearing it again. However, some of the songs like Kickstand and Half and maybe even Sacrilege, but Spoon Man for me, it would be a shorter album. It'd be about 58 minutes or somewhere in that range, and for me it'd be a little bit palatable. I give this album a 9.75 out of 10, and mainly it's because of length and those tracks that I just don't feel are really that. They don't add a whole lot to the album for me personally, and so that's why it's not a 10 out of 10 for me. And for replayability, it was fun to revisit this album. I got 2 listens in. I didn't need more because I right away knew every track. I played this album incessantly in 1994. For months and months and months. It rarely came out of my CD player. And just as an aside, Soundgarden and Alice are my 1 and 1A bands from this scene, and depending on the day and the time and my mood, one usurps the other, but it's these 2 all the way. Not a fan of Mookie Blaylock after the first album, really the second album, I guess. I'm kind of done with that band at that point. I've never really gravitated towards anything after the 3rd or 5th album. I bought them all, and I was like, this shit sucks. So Pearljam, nah. Nirvana, I've never been a fan. I owned I think I might own the MTV songs, which are kind of cool, but I had In Utero and Nevermind, got rid of them. Don't care if I ever hear Nirvana the rest of my life. I'm just not into them. And that's just my opinion. You don't have to, nobody has to like, whatever. You don't have to like what I like, but that's just me. Let's see what else we got here. Replayability is probably an 8 on this one, so it's pretty high. And there you go. So that's that album. And I guess we jump into my album quick, and then we'll tie everything up at the end here. My album that I chose is 1991's Badmotorfinger. You want to show that one quick? There we go. Came out October 8th, 91. Recorded at Studio D, Sausalito, Bear Creek in Woodinville, and A&M in Hollywood. It is 57 minutes long, so still a pretty long album. And this is Terry Date, who did, Pantera, Fifth Angel, probably a lot of other people I don't really know off the top of my head. This They began the recording sessions for the album with new bassist Ben Shepherd in the spring of 91. The album maintained the band's heavy metal sound while featuring an increased focus on songwriting. Again, surprisingly cerebral and arty alternative tunings and odd time signatures were present on several of the album's songs, and lyrics were intended to be ambiguous and evocative. The focus on the Seattle grunge scene helped bring attention to Badmotorfinger, and the singles Outshine and Rusty Cage found a major audience in rock radio on MTV. Badmotorfinger became the band's highest charting album at the time on the Billboard 200, where it peaked at number 39, whereas yours went in at number 1. The album received critical acclaim, citing the significant improvements over earlier releases and the evolution of the band's sound. Soundgarden supported the album tours in North America and Europe, including opening for Guns N' Roses on the Use Your Illusion tour, which I saw the Use Your Illusion tour, but I got Skid Row, not Soundgarden. Skid Row was pretty good, I gotta admit. That was for Slave to the Grind, and they were fucking heavy.
Yeah.
Frankly, they kind of outplayed. They were heavier than Guns N' Roses. This album was certified double platinum in '96 by the RIAA. It's been classified by various critics as grunge, alternative metal, heavy metal, and hard rock. Steve Huey of AllMusic said the songwriting on the album takes a quantum leap in focus and consistency, adding it's surprisingly cerebral and arty for music, according to the mainstream, but it attacks with scientific precision. Kim Thile, guitarist Kim Thile, jokingly called it the heavy metal white album, which is interesting. That's an interesting statement. Frontman Chris Cornell said, I think there's songs on the new record that are almost more commercially viable because they have that memorable feel to them. And I think if anyone expected us to come out and make something more commercial than Louder Than Love, the band's previous album, then I'm glad that they were surprised. Or not as loud as commercialized. He added that the album was more representative of how the band was live. Compared to Louder Than Love, the band took a more collaborative approach on the songwriting process. It was Soundgarden's first album with bassist Ben Shepherd, who replaced Jason Everman. I don't know if I said that right. In April of '90, Cornell and Shepherd brought a fresh and creative approach to the recording sessions, while the band as a whole said his knowledge of music and writing skills to redefine the group. Before joining Soundgarden had been Shepherd's favorite band. Shepherd contributed the song Somewhere and collaborated on the musical composition of several other songs on the album, as did Thile and drummer Matt Cameron. Thale said Shepherd's contribution helped make the album faster and weirder. And I agree, that Ben definitely adds the weird often. It was scheduled for release on September 24th, 91, but A&M pushed it back to October 8th due to production problems. Coming a month and a half after Pearljam's 10 and just weeks after Nirvana's Nevermind and Red Hot Chili Peppers' Blood Sugar Sex Magic, both of which were released on September 24th. It has been credited with helping break alternative rock and grunge in the mainstream. Although overshadowed at the time of its release by the sudden popularity of Nevermind, the attention that the album brought to the Seattle music scene helped Soundgarden get broader exposure. Peaked at number 39, February 29, 92. It was among 100 top selling of 92, sold 1 million copies in the early 90s, was certified platinum by the RIAA in January of 93, and finally double platinum in April 96. As I mentioned, in anticipation of the band's appearance on the 92 Lollapalooza, it was a double limited edition, which I do own, and I got at that time, with the second disc containing the EP Satan Oscillate, My Metallic Sonatas, or Psalms. The title is a palindrome. We went through all that. Anyway,
Yep.
So on my trip,
The breakdown, right?
yeah, Rusty Cage. It's a mega banger. Those killer sustained notes. They almost sound like it almost sounds like a fucking Ebo. I'm not sure. I don't think it is. I think they're just using a lot of saturation and delay and phase or not phasing. Production stuff there with those. I mean, I can't get the tone right because I don't have that pitch in my voice, but man, it's a speedy, almost punk track, man, as it gets going. It's just, I'm gonna break my rusty cage and run. I can't get up that high. I tried, but it's just not with me to get up to that one note. Outshine, man, super heavy yet extremely catchy. Cornell's vocals are killer, man. It's just got that dun 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 drop D tuning. Woo! gets mystified. Da-la-la-la-la, show me the power, child. I like to say that I'm down on my knees today. Bow da bow da 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 bow bow. Just killer fucking song. Then we get to the Omega banger, the two Omega bangers, man. The next two tracks on this album are fucking monstrous. Slaves and Bulldozers, man. Holy fucking shit. Chris Cornell's screams on this are unreal. Probably only maybe surpassed by Nothing to Say and Far Beyond the Wheel. Maybe. But I don't know about that. But I'm not even going to try to destroy my vocal cords and do a falsetto of this because it would be horribly embarrassing. I've already embarrassed myself enough already on trying to emulate Chris. But you know that every word I say is what I mean. La, 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 la. You know, it's now you know where I've been taken. I mean, it's just fucking insane. But he's doing that in a scream where I was doing
exactly.
He's line there. It's just, you know,
he's just belting it.
It's
crazy,
destroying it, man. And the I can play this song, and it's deceptively harder than it sounds, but it's not super hard. But it's just all the nuances that Kim Thayil, you know, the harmonic tonalities and the way they drone and bend the notes, you know, bow down, bow down, bow down, bow. It's just so fucking killer. And then, quite frankly, for me, Soundgarden's most savagely heavy song, and it is Jesus Christ Pose. This is an Omega banger, man. It's still their heaviest, most savage riff fest of all. Cornell's screams are beyond 99% of all singers' ranges and intensities. It's a straight edge razor to your fucking throat, and all good Christian beliefs and dogma. Fuck that shit. There you go. I said it. Yeah, I mean it. Face Pollution, man. This is a tweener banger, but it's a really good song, man. And I believe this is a Ben Shepherd song. It is. Very good. It's got a punk edge to it, but it's got a really cool fucking... man, it's borderline mega banger, man. It's right there. It's right there, man. Again, I can't hit those notes that Chris does that. Face Pollution. It's just so sick, man. So sick. Another... Ben Shepherd song, Somewhere. Almost, this is the one I noted that's almost a weird REM type alternative heavy pop song.
Yeah.
Could be, you could find this one on Down on the Upside. It's almost a quirky hard pop song. Really good song. Tweener banger on that one. A mega banger, the next song, Searching with My Good Eye Closed, man. This is my good eye. Do you hear a cow? Moo. A rooster says, cock-a-doo. Here is a pig. The devil says. That is the fucking coolest intro of all. You know, and it gets in a painted blue across my eyes. I'm tired of leaning on. Am I on my way? On my way. And then, you know, is it to the sky? Is it to the sky? I can't do it, man. I top out right there. But and he does it, you know, searching for the ground with my good eye closed. It's almost a Sabbathy song. It's got a Sabbathy vibe to it. Yeah. But it's almost a blues song. There's a lot of blues in the riffing of it in actuality. So, but man, that Is It to the Sky, when he builds that thing up, man.
Which he does towards the end.
Really. So that is a... Did I say mega banger? That's an Omega banger. I'm sorry. Omega banger. I goofed. Okay.
It happens.
Mega banger. The next track fucking rips, dude. Room 1,000 Years Wide. And this is a Matt Cameron song. You know, it's like, listen here, he is inside. One who lives while others lie. And that's tomorrow begat tomorrow. And then he just builds it again to that notes I can't hit, and I fucking love this song. It's my sleeper track on the album.
Ah, man,
killer track. And I happen to know Brian Arkham loves this song too. So, just that down, 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 and it's just this. And then you got that whining little note in the background. It's going so fucking killer, man. Mind Riot, almost pop punk. Super catchy. Another sleeper. I love that song. That's a mega banger. Drawing Flies, another mega banger. Punky avant thrash, kind of. Gnarly short slammer. It's a kick-ass track. Holy Water is a tweener banger for me. I like it. It's a cool track, but it's got a radio vibe to it, which is not a bad thing. But it's great. It's just a tweener banger for me. And then the album ends on a mega banger in New Damage, man. Just so vicious, man. The riffs are angular. It's hostile and snarling, jagged and nasty. Man, it's so close to a mega banger, a super mega banger. It's right there. For me, this album simply slays pretty much throughout. There's zero skippers for me. Only 3 tracks that I honestly think are marginally okay compared to the insanely high caliber of the whole album. Replayability is a 10 out of 10 for me. Listening to this, I was like, fuck, man, I haven't listened to this in way too long. Sequencing's fine. Production's, to me, sounds amazing, especially the guitar tone. So what was that? What did I go with here? I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, no. 4.
For like, your mega bangers, or mega
5,
bangers?
6 mega bangers. 3 tweener bangers. 0 bangers. 0 med tracks. And 3. What do I got? 1, 2, 3. I got 3 omega bangers on that album. So,
Damn.
I don't know, dude. That album fucking slays. What do you got to say?
You give it a 10 out of 10?
I gave it a 10 out of 10.
Shit. That's awesome. No, I think I have to start by saying it's kind of what I said earlier. You know, like sometimes your first impressions from when you were a kid are still something that you hold on to, no matter how often you revisit a thing. So I definitely had some reservations about this album back when I first heard it. As I said, it was the first Soundgarden album I ran into. It's as you said, it's 1A, 1B. You know, like we're not like jumping off a cliff or anything. It's right up there with Superunknown. But I think some of the tracks kind of let down the quality of the other tracks, if you will. And we're definitely gonna have some interesting dialogue about some of these, pretty similar to probably Superunknown. So I'm ready for it. We start off with Rusty Cage, which I think is just a regular banger. It's a great opening song. I want to highlight how killer the tempo changes are. You know, like it picks up with that killer bass riff from. Is Shepard on this, or who's playing bass on this? When we get to this, yeah, Ben Shepard. So the bass riff on Rusty Cage is killer, and then the final breakdown at the end of that song, I absolutely love. But it's still like one of the weaker singles that for me has kind of been a little overplayed. Outshine is perfect. I mean, it's like it's not quite a mega banger for me, but it's I guess as much of a tweener banger as you can get, and definitely has probably the most depressed lyrics I can think of. I mean, the grass is always greener where the dogs are always shitting. I feel like I can't get any lower. Still, I feel like I'm sinking. Fucking awesome. Yeah, that's a killer track. And then it sounds oddly happy too, which always throws me off because it's got that like little happy part in the middle. Then Slaves and Bulldozers. I mean, I can't really add too much to what you're saying, but just what you already said, but agree with you. I mean, it's amazing. A mega banger for sure. It doesn't have an obvious hook and is kind of somewhat atonal. I love how slinky that riff is, you know. And I kind of like the overall message. It once again sounds kind of like Mailman, where it's like pointing at the people who have everything and like, you know, fuck you basically, and like
Right.
like the politicians and stuff. How did you get where you're at? And yeah, it's Yeah, it makes me think of palms being greased and snake oil being sold. It's kind of what I wrote. And then Jesus Christ Pose, dude, I absolutely agree. This song actually took a while for it to grow on me. Like I think originally when I heard it, I was like, why is this a single? There's not like a hook. It's very jagged and there's not as much to grab onto, but then like you kind of start to sink into the message of the song and how the song grows throughout and all the different riffs and stuff. And yeah, I absolutely love this track. And I love how it builds too. And then Face Pollution, great song. I would say that's just a regular banger, 8 out of 10 for me. Probably their punkiest track on here. I definitely love at the end where Chris is just shouting, face pollution. And then this is when we're going to start to maybe switch it up. And this is why I have my reservations on the album. And I don't know, you might be pissed at me, Jeff. Brian might be pissed at me. We'll see. Somewhere is kind of a meh. Like it doesn't do as much as what the other tracks.
It's probably my least favorite track.
Yeah. Mine. It's so simple and chorus driven, which it's fine. It's good. I did not think about it like kind of hinting at this, but now I see it that you brought it up. I see it. And it just doesn't do as much. It's a lot more straightforward. And this is the one. Friggin', where do I got it? Oh, I must have skipped. Oh, Searching with My Good Eye Closed. I give this a 7 out of 10. This is like not a skippable song, but it kind of lets me down a little bit. Like I love the intro, as you said, but then it goes with that epic scream by Chris Cornell, and that kind of just drops into this like droning mid-paced track that to me doesn't really go anywhere. It's like it doesn't deliver on the bite of tracks like Slaves and Bulldozers and Jesus Christ Pose. And I don't know, it feels a bit meandery to me. I like how it ends.
Which one? Search?
Yeah, Search.
Oh, God,
yeah.
Okay.
I knew this was going to be the big discrepancy on this album because one of the singles I like the at the end where he's saying like to the sky and it kind of builds from there. Yeah. That's cool, but I just feel like it doesn't do as much as like the better tracks. I wanted like some meaner, like Slaves and Bulldozers and
you got Slaves
Jesus
and Bulldozers.
Christ Pose. Well, yeah. But why have one when you could have like 2 or 3 of that song?
I guess they kind of. I mean, yeah, we totally disagree on that.
That's what I mean. Like, I feel like that is an opinion that originally was formed back when I was like 16, listening to this album.
Possibly, yeah.
And I'm still hearing it, and I'm still thinking it. Like I don't know, it's just an interesting phenomenon because I know most people when I talk to about this album, that's one of their favorite songs. And you said you heard like Black Sabbath and stuff.
Yeah, I hear kind of a bit of Black Sabbath in it. I wouldn't say it's like strictly Black Sabbath, but it's probably the only track on the album that has kind of a bit of a blues run in it, a bluesy sound to it, which isn't something that they typically did much. But I hear it a little bit in there. Not a lot, but just a little bit.
Yep. And see, both Brians are hating. They know.
What's that?
They know better than I do about, I'm assuming, Searching with Your Good Eye Closed. But then we get to Room 1,000 Years Wide, and I think we're back on the same page. For me, this is the Omega banger of the album. This is my 11 out of 10 song, or, I absolutely love it. The main riff is absolutely killer. I love the chorus. I love how it kind of does sound a little more depressing a little bit, like not as pissed, but a little more like reserved, but it still has that really biting, like kind of doomy riff to it. And it just really devolves as a song in a brilliant way with Chris's screaming. And then also they bring in like the orchestral elements, like like a brass section.
On which song?
Room 1,000 Years Wide. At the very end, there's like crazy like screams of like it sounds like of a brass
the
band.
horns.
The horns, yeah.
Yeah, but I thought that was actually on.
It's on Room 1,000 Years Wide, and
I
also
thought that was on
Drawing
Flies at the
It
end.
is, yeah.
Okay.
I believe it's
I don't
on
remember
both.
that on. I don't remember that on Room 1,000 Years.
It's
I'll
at
have to re-listen to it.
It's at the very end, probably like the last 30 seconds. It's like when Chris is just wailing, then these horns just come in. He's like screaming, "Tomorrow!"
Because I know they have on Drawing Flies. They've got that wicked sax freak out at the end there. Yeah, which is super cool.
Yeah, which Drawing Flies, that's a banger. That's a banger for me for sure. Like I do like the punk energy, and like it's just a weird off kilter song. Like it doesn't necessarily mesh, but that's kind of why it's cool.
Right.
And yeah, definitely like that one. Holy Water, very straightforward. I pretty much agree with you on what you said about that. Like it's a good song, but it doesn't do as much
commercial vibe to it in some respects.
Absolutely, and kind of doubles down on the religious perspective that Jesus Christ Pose started. New Damage, that's barely a tweener banger for me. That's almost a mega banger. That's phenomenal.
Another
closer.
Matt Cameron song.
Yeah, wow, he really wrote some good ones, for sure.
Brian, we're sorry to hear that. We're sorry you're having some you're having leakage. I'm sorry to hear that.
You know what the song was about? New Damage. I heard it was about the RNC, like back in 1990. But it might have been about record labels too. New Damage, like what the song is about.
I you know what, man? The older I get, the less I give a shit about lyrics.
I hear you.
I don't know what it is. I used to be, as a young cat like you, I focused on them, and after being a Rush fan and having some of the greatest lyrics ever, everyone else kind of pales, anyways. So I don't go back and go, oh, what's this about? I'm just not that way. That's a Kellen thing.
Yeah.
Kellen does that stuff, not me.
It makes me understand, like, because that song sounds super pissed off and scathing. I mean, he's saying, "Get out before you drown." It's a new word for plague. I mean, shit. Like, it makes me understand like what the lyrics are about. Which is
it could very well be about the record industry. It could very well be about life in general. A lot of metaphorical stuff there, right?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that's Badmotorfinger. I think as far as the structure of the album, it flows pretty well. There's that middle part, once again, that it's got somewhere in the Searching with Your Good Eye Closed that I'm like kind of on, and then, but I think the peaks are very well placed, like with Slaves and Bulldozers and Jesus Christ Pose and
kind of build
Room 1,000 Years Wide and stuff. So I definitely think the flow of it is very good. As far as like the breakdown of the tracks, I got 3 mega bangers with like 1 omega banger, and then the rest are tweener bangers. I think I got 2 regular bangers, or like not meh, but like they're 7 out of 10 songs,
Okay.
So it doesn't quite measure the consistency for me as
for you overall?
Superunknown. I give it an 8.8.
Oh man.
Yeah, man. I don't
know. I wasn't gonna do this, but
Superunknown was a 9.8. I don't know for me.
I have to do this. I have to.
You're booting me off the island.
Now I have to quiz the chat. I want you guys in the chat to make your pick. And I didn't do this, and I should have done this on the earlier ones, but I want to know, everyone, what your pick is between Badmotorfinger and Superunknown as definitive album. Now,
we haven't made the final arguments yet, right?
Well, I'm going to do that right now.
Okay, one sec.
You got to go somewhere?
Just grabbing a beer. You keep talking, sorry.
You're sneaking away out of camera.
To my beer cabinet over here.
Oh, okay. So, for me, the reason I kind of think this is definitive, the only thing going against it, I think the quality of the songs are right there with the quality of the songs on Superunknown. I think it's head to head. I think Superunknown is a little lengthy for its own good. I think that The other issue I kind of have a little bit with it is that Badmotorfinger still retains some of what the band started with early on, and that was that more punky, avant alternative vibe. And so there's still some of that remaining on Badmotorfinger, whereas you don't have nearly as much of it on Superunknown. Insofar as, you know, like okay, you got Kickstand, but Kickstand isn't as good as Drawing Flies or even as Mind Ride, as far as, in my opinion, as far as more punky tracks or alternate tracks. For me, I think that Badmotorfinger kind of retains a little bit of what the band started out as. Whereas I think by the time they got to Superunknown, they kind of evolved into that band that was kind of poised to start making the radio songs. Now, they didn't go full-fledged, freaking Duran Duran or something like that. It was not that. Like that album. I like that album, but frankly, there's only a couple songs on it that I really, really like. Like Burden in My Hand and Blow Up the Outside World, and I forget the first song on there.
Pretty Noose, that's a good one. Yeah.
Pretty Noose is good, right? I mean, there's a lot of good songs on it, but I'm just not as sold on it overall. So, I think for me, there's no right or wrong answer here. We don't, we're not solving world peace. We're not, it's not meant to be that. It's just, and I probably, like I said, I should have probably should have quizzed everybody in every, most people were making it known their favorites anyways, but I really haven't, I haven't gotten, I didn't ask everybody. So, yeah. So, and as for this comment right here, this guy right here, he's trying to be provocative, I think. I don't know. Provocative as in he's trying to be somewhat of a douchebag. But I have a message for him. EABOD, Brian. EABOD, Brian Arkham. That's for you. Yeah. So Brian goes Badmotorfinger, which was the right choice. Brian McFadden goes Superunknown.
Yep.
And I don't think it's a perfect album, and I've laid out why I don't. And there's 2 or 3 skipper tracks on there. And granted, I know my opinion on Spoon Man is probably unpopular. I think it's just because I've been around since the beginning listening to it, and it just doesn't do much for me. But I know most people will be like, oh, it's a great song. I'm not saying it's a bad song. It's just a song I don't want to hear anymore. Yeah. And James, you asked earlier if we were going to talk about Ultra Mega OK and Louder Than Love. Apparently you didn't understand the dynamic of what the show's about. It's that album versus this album. I did mention both those albums.
They're worth mentioning
in passing, but the show is not about those 2 albums. So if we ever do a deep dive at some point, we'll get into that. Although, I don't know. A lot of these bands that I'm doing these dad episodes on, I probably will hold off on doing deep dives for a long while. So all right, what's your argument? Those are mine.
All right. Well, so I got to go back to like the definition of what saying definitive
I got to eat.
is.
I apologize. I'm listening.
No, you're good. Like definitive, we're talking about like it's subjectively is your favorite, but then also objectively, like you have to acknowledge it as well. I will give you the win for Badmotorfinger in that it does still have some of the sound from Louder Than Love and Ultra Mega OK on it, but I think when you're looking at what it did for the culture, for the scene, for Soundgarden, just for their whole career overall, you can't deny that objectively Superunknown is the bigger, more important album as well. It's got the singles, it's got the deep cuts, it's got the variety, and it kind of still to me shows where they were, but then also shows where they're going. So it's really a cool midpoint in their career, because you still can't deny albums like Down on the Upside, and even I do have this one, which maybe we can talk about towards the end, but King Animal, like it's got a little vibes of that.
Well,
So it does capture, and it still has kickstand and like some more
I mean, the problem,
off the wall songs. You
a
know,
lot of times, though, what you got to look at is that, you know, in 1975, Rush put out Caress of Steel.
mm-hmm.
They were on their final album for Mercury, and they were going to be dropped. And they were told, we got to get hit songs. So they did the exact opposite, and they created a sidelong 1-minute song and a 20-minute song, and made made this
2112. Yeah, they.
Nah, that ain't gonna happen. So they made this album that kind of parlayed into, and I like 2112, but it's kind of in the middle of my Rush albums. It's not at the top, but you could say that's the definitive album, because without that album, they would have never achieved the success and been able to write their own ticket for many, many years thereafter. They wouldn't have created, masterpieces like A Farewell to Kings or Hemispheres or Moving Pictures. I mean, most people, if you said, what's the crowning achievement of Rush's career? What's the definitive album? They're going to say Moving Pictures. Yeah.
That's what I would probably say.
Or Permanent Waves, but probably Moving Pictures.
No, Moving Pictures. I'd probably make a similar argument that I'm making for Superunknown.
Right, exactly. But the thing you got to keep in mind is that without Badmotorfinger, there's a very good chance that Soundgarden doesn't ever put another album out. If Badmotorfinger isn't really successful, which it was, they would have never gotten probably to that point to put Superunknown out. See what I mean? So that's kind of.
But is that what makes it definitive? Because it set them up to take that step? Or isn't definitive them taking that step and actually capturing the success that they set up?
I can't disagree with your assessment that it's the album, the crowning achievement, the album that put them at the top.
Yeah.
I just think in the context of their entire catalog, Badmotorfinger was equally as important, and it kind of set the groundwork to allow them to go do Superunknown. So that's my point. Now, again, when you've got such great albums as this, like for example, if we did Rush and you chose Hemisphere or Moving Pictures and I chose Hemispheres, or if I chose A Farewell to Kings, I could make the argument that those two albums that I picked were the defining moments of their musical career, in that they were their most proggiest, their most progressive, their most boundary pushing. Whereas the Moving Pictures brought them more into the fold along the lines of Permanent Waves, where they started to condense their songs and make radio-friendly tracks that could be played on the radio.
Yep. And
it's kind of the same thing here, in my opinion. Although there were some radio tracks, 3 of them actually, big ones off of Badmotorfinger. So there were 5 on Superunknown, but there were 3 off of Badmotorfinger. So,
but that you can't deny that, like the pop rush, that's still a big part of their career. In fact, isn't that a longer time period than their prog elements? And I mean, truthfully, like Soundgarden only released one other album after Superunknown, but it's still a part of their career. So I think you could still make the argument that this Superunknown captures the future and the past and kind of brings it together in the middle, And also, I really like how it fits in the story of grunge. Like, it's like one of the last big grunge albums before the whole thing just implodes on itself.
That's a good point.
Like, I really like how it closes out the big 4 of grunge's releases. I mean, you could throw Alice in Chains' Tripod in there in 1995, but 1994, this was like
Alice kind of disappears because Lane gets too sick to function, and Kurt kills himself, and so the only other band left was Pearljam. And
what did they become after that?
I still, for the life of me, do not understand why that band is as big as they are. I just don't get it. I don't understand it.
I think they started to appeal to hippies. That's why.
Well, I think that's a lot of it. There's a lot of those alternate dudes
Fucking
that are like,
jam
"Oh, Eddie
bands and
Vedder,
stuff.
he's the greatest, man."
Yeah,
Yeah, not my thing.
absolutely.
So yeah, I think that again,
Yeah,
nobody wins or nobody loses here. We
just good
don't
discussion.
have that kind of contention or anything like that. But I think that you made some great points, many that I agree with. I think I made a few that were pretty solid and interesting as well. I think they're both kind of pinnacle career albums for this band.
Absolutely.
Clearly, there are other great albums. Louder Than Love is really killer. Ultra Mega OK is very, very good. Even the FOP EP is decent. Down on the Upside, I'm not as huge on, and I have to say that when Chris left and went to the Rage Against the Soundgarden thing,
Yeah, Audio Slave.
yeah, I really tapped out. I owned that first Audio Slave, but after that, I was done. And then when Chris started going back to solo stuff, he put out one of the most fucking brilliant solo albums of all time, and that is Euphoria Morning, and it is absolutely a fucking super mega omega alpha banger. That is a fucking brilliant album. But after that, Chris's record after that is kind of weird. It's spotty. He does that Scream album that with Timberland or whatever it's called. Timberlake. I said Timberlake. Timberland, and not a fan of that album. He did Carry On, which is okay. I saw him on that tour. And then he did the cool acoustic one, which is cool. But yeah, kind of hit and miss.
Did you like this as far as like a comeback album goes? It's meh. I mean, it's not
okay.
like
it's okay.
It's like a 6 to a 7 out of 10, probably.
Yeah, there's some good tracks on it, but was I blown away by it? No, sadly I wasn't. I wanted to be kind of mind fucked by it, and I wasn't. Yeah. And so no, I would put that somewhere in the middle of their catalog. They didn't have a lot of albums, so I'd put that right around wherever I would put Bird or
Down on the Upside. Actually, I really like Down on the Upside. Like, to me, that's a very underrated cut.
Yeah, it's probably a little below that one.
So this one might be at the bottom.
Yeah. But so Logan, what do you have going on your channel, sir?
Man, I'm still kind of trying to get back into it. It's just been busy around these parts. Just getting used to a new area and everything. I'm trying to launch some more streams and stuff. I want to do a Dozer deep dive with Chris over at Depeche Mode. I want to do a collaboration with Tyler from, what's his channel name? Alaskan Berg Wanderings.
Yeah, AK Berg Wanderer.
Yeah, we're trying to do a collab, a metal and beer pairing collab stream. And then just get back into putting out some more consistent videos on like a weekly or bi-weekly basis. But yeah, I appreciate you having me on, man. It's been great time about one of my favorite, most important bands.
Well, I appreciate you jumping in. And sorry, I haven't eaten all day. I had to
Dude, you're good.
Get a burrito down.
Get that burrito. What you
as
got
for
going on?
Your comment there, Brian, Robert Sparling and I have something else going on. We got a well, I probably shouldn't expose this on live YouTube, but Robert has a stable of you guys were asking about the MILF series. When was the MILF series going to start? Well, Robert and I are working on it. Just saying, it's kind of it's on the D-low. I can't really get what I'm saying? I can't expose any of the details about what Robert and I are working on, but it's going to be fun. Robert knows how to talk to the ladies on Instagram. I'm just saying. Well, I don't think it's the greatest album either. I think A Farewell to Kings and I
actually agree with that. Hemispheres
is by far their best two albums. But
Hemispheres is my favorite, I think.
Permanent Waves is up there. So is Signals. So is the two Sleeper albums. Power Windows is a fucking amazing album. And Grace Under Pressure is killer too. Yeah, Grace Under Pressure is killer. I wouldn't take them over Moving Pictures, but they're close. Okay. 2 albums, Bud. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you're talking to somebody else. Let's see. Hold Your Fire. Yeah, can't do that. I like Hold Your Fire a lot more than a lot of Rush fans do, but I do like it. Okay, yeah. Allegedly, there's a new album that Soundgarden is trying to, I guess, get the vocal tracks and whatnot that Chris had left onto some demos, onto actual songs that were completed. So there's that. Oh, Amy Mann. I love her, man. She's great. Till Tuesday, yeah. All right. Let me see. Anything else here, guys? A couple of notes, show notes, assuming that I'm going to be able to do these. So, Sunday is a busy day for me. I kind of overwhelm myself. At 2 p.m. Sunday afternoon, Eastern Time, I am interviewing Richard Barbieri from Porcupine Tree, Japan, Jansen Barbieri, Karn, Dolphin Brothers, No Man, all kinds of good stuff. Solo, a lot of killer solo albums. So that should be really, really cool. Rich and I go back a long ways, and it'll be neat to kind of connect with him because I haven't actually seen him physically in quite a while. I had tickets to go see Porcupine Tree in September, but my health really started to fall apart right around that time, and I didn't trust myself being out in public at that point in time with as far as anxiety and travel and driving and all that stuff. Also, 7 p.m. Wait, no, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. on Killing for Company, Kellen's channel, Killing for Company. Myself, Kellen, and Peter from the Metal Vault on Instagram. We will be doing a comparing and contrasting review of Blut aus Nord's Disharmonium series, the 2 albums so far. One is, Christ, I forget the fucking names of them.
Oh, Dreamable Abysses?
Undreamable Abysses.
Undreamable Abysses and
Nahab, is that it?
Yeah.
And then
Nahab.
The other one, the first one is
was that a part of it?
Yeah, the one from last year is.
Okay, yeah.
God damn it, I forget the name of it. Hang on.
Undreamable Abysses is the first one.
No, that's the newest one.
Oh.
Is it?
No, that was the first one with like all the tentacles.
Oh, you might be right.
The orbs. I forget the name of that Lovecraftian beast, but
yeah, Undreamable Abysses, and the second one is called Nahab. That's it. So those are the 2 that we're doing. We probably should have done the Lovecraftian Echoes. I didn't even think about that. I don't own it though. I didn't grab that one. So I'll get to show off my limited edition Nahab. I didn't grab Undreamable, and I should have. I'm not sure why, but we're doing that interview, and that's going to be at 6 p.m. Probably an hour and a half, somewhere in that realm. And then at 9 o'clock on Sunday night, the 24th, we've got Lee G from Heavy Art Talk YouTube channel, the art channel you know and love. He and I are going to talk about a legendary prog band. We're going to talk about, on the Dad Series number 6, we're going to pit Dark Side of the Moon versus Animals, and that will be at 9 p.m. on Sunday night. So those are the biggies, and then I just announced today.
You are busy.
On October 12th, sorry, myself, Craig Beerhorst from the Butlers and the Ruffians, and Tom Draper from Spirit Adrift, we are going to do the Rainbow discography. We're going to talk about the 8 Rainbow albums. And at this point, we may have a special guest that are even over those 2 guys, which are special guests. So that's the stuff that's coming up somewhere along the line in October. I hope to do I hope to get Paul Masvidal on. I'm not sure whether that's going to happen or not. I hope to get Duncan Patterson on, but he kind of ghosted me, so I'm not sure what's up there. And I hope to get the Prog Metal Island, Deserted Island top 10 choices in the books on that one too, and an Anathema deep dive. Anathema, and of course we're gonna have 2 more next week. We'll have 2 more dads, and the week after that until I exhaust all my friends and my enemies, and we'll see what happens.
Everyone in between, right?
What's that?
And everyone in between. All right,
dude, you're either drunk or fucking high as hell, bro. I mean, to even say that is just absurd. You just like to stir shit. There's absolutely no way that those 2 Dio albums are worse than Bent Out of Shape or fucking the Bonnet album. I like Graham Bonnet a lot, but there's absolutely no way. Graham Bonnet with Michael Schenker, sure, but with Rainbow, you were at least 2 cases in to say something like that. So anyway, anybody got quick questions or anything they want to throw out there quick? That isn't absurd with what James just said like that?
What a way to end the stream.
Because that's fucking absurd as fuck, man.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for having me on, man. It's great.
Yeah, man. Hang on a sec. Anybody got anything quick? We're gonna bail out here. I think yours is the longest one we've done. Because I was killing time at the beginning, though, to get my burritos
burrito,
out.
right? Yeah.
Burrito. I was on a burrito mission, man. I was like, well, I got to talk a little bit, get that thing cooked up. Get Logan to the starting point. We'll get going. So hope you enjoyed this. I would think, if these keep doing okay, we will do more. Nate, I want to get you on here, but you got some issue with your fucking phone, dude. Go get a new phone. They're almost nowadays. They're almost, they beg you to buy phones. They pretty much give them to you. So get a phone or get an iPad or something like that, and come on. I would have James on, but he says the most ludicrous shit. So I don't know that I can trust him, man. I might have to midway through the stream. I might have to fucking, zero him out. But just real quick, last thing. To give you guys a quick feel for who else is coming on, I've got, not necessarily in this order, but I've got Matt from the Accusation Network coming on. We're doing Van Halen 2 versus Van Halen Fair Warning. Serge, my buddy Serge, we're doing Queensryche, The Warning versus Promised Land. Eric Berg, the Young Canuck. We are doing Vandergraaf Generator. He's got God Bluff, and I have Pawn Hearts. Alan from Heavy Metallurgy, we're doing Deep Purple. He's got Machine Head Mark II, and I've got Mark III with Burn, David Coverdale, and Glenn Hughes. Kellen and I are going to do Wasp, Headless Children versus he's got the debut, and I've got Headless Children. Rick from Dreadful Minutes, we're doing Def Leppard, Pyromania versus, High and Dry versus Pyromania. Jake from the Upside Down Church, we've got Metallica. I don't talk much about those guys, so it's kind of weird that he decided he wanted to do Metallica. I'm doing Master.
That's a good one, yeah.
We're doing Master versus Metallica Black Album. Peter from Metal Vault. Hang on, let me run these through. And
sorry.
Peter from the Metal Vault. We are doing something not metal at all. We're doing the Cocteau Twins. I'm doing Leaving Las Vegas, and I think he's doing... He's not sure. Let's see. Chuck, my buddy Chuck is coming on. We're doing the Beatles, the Beatles. I got the White Album versus Abbey Road for Chuck. Johnny Mac over there in England, Jolly UK. We are doing Warrior Soul, and those of you who've been following me for a long time will know the Warrior Soul story. You'll hear it again. I picked Last Decade Dead Century. He picked Salutations from the Ghetto Nation. Andy from Metal Mogul. We're doing Saxon. He's doing Strong Arm of the Law, and I'm doing Denim and Leather. A couple more quick ones here. Roger Kavorchik. We've got Metal Church. I'm doing the debut versus Blessing in Disguise. Phil from Chromium Dioxide. Judas Priest. I've got Stained Class versus Defenders. And then I still got to get Dennis, Jimmy, and Mark G and Aaron set up, and then we'll see where we go. And one last thing. I'm not 100% sure, but Dennis and I are doing, I think next Thursday, we're doing the Forgotten Metal Gems number 6 or 7. I forget which one it is. And we're doing Sortilege, Kickaxe, Laz Rocket, and Slaughter Extroyers. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm taking Van Halen Dose 2. And I think that's it. Man. Dio is Napoleon.
That's a good amount, man. I was just impressed that someone was picking Black Album as the definitive Metallica release.
Well, it's kind of like Superunknown. It's the album that fucking,
I guess.
Wow, it sold bazillions of albums.
Yeah.
And I mean, with the exception of a Dino band or two, maybe the Foo Fighters, Pink Floyd rejoined and joined forces with Roger Waters, and maybe what's the band? The German band, Du Hast.
Oh, Rammstein.
Rammstein.
Yeah.
Is there any band bigger? Maiden is even as big as Metallica.
No, Metallica's the biggest, and it's because of that album for sure.
Yeah, Metallica, Foo Fighters.
Honestly, that's gonna be a good one. I'm excited for that one because you have to address everything you just said.
Yeah.
And be able to beat it. But I don't know. You got a lot going on. Cheers, man.
Yeah, I do. Hang on a sec, all right? All right, guys. Peace out. Later.